It's Friday, January 8th, 2021. I'm Greg Nibbler, and this is MBUX Live. Yes, indeed. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us wherever you are. We do appreciate it. Of course, follow MBUX Media, TWO, Box Media, whatever your favorite social media platform is. We appreciate that a lot. Coming up here in just a little bit, we're going to have Winnie Sun joining us. I'm very excited to have her on here. So that's just a few minutes ahead. But before we do that, we want to catch you up on what is happening in the news, and in particular with tech. I guess it's been such a slow week. We had 5 days into 2021 that were just pretty great, but such a sweet, innocent time. Yeah, there's a lot that's going on this week, and clearly we all know what's happening with Donald Trump, with the Capitol, with everything that went on with that. And we don't need to go into that much of the backstory for that side. What I do want to talk about, though, is something that is directly related to this that I feel like is getting a little bit overlooked right now. And it's something that's going to come back in probably about 2 to 3 weeks is when big discussions are going to be happening. And it has to do with content moderation and looking at our social media platforms. When you think about every site right now, over these last couple of days have gone into some kind of a ban, and they've gone into overdrive as far as moderating their content. And it's kind of okay, this happened, now we're going to do this looking back, and that this is what we're going to be doing. But every different platform has essentially done the same thing to an extent for right now. But the thing to really consider here is, what does this mean going forward? Because now that we've reached this tipping point to where they've decided to go ahead and do this, to take content down, to ban, to suspend, things like that. By the way, right before we went on air, Reddit just banned the sub-channel for Donald Trump as well. But what does this mean going forward, and how are these social media platforms going to handle it? Because this is a discussion that is going to need to be had by everybody. We're all on social media. You're watching me on social media. I'm broadcasting on it. I mean, certainly we all appreciate the benefits of it, but there are decisions that are going to have to be made. And when you think about with Section 230 coming up, the discussions on that is something that is going to be brought up. And once this kind of settles down a little bit, maybe like a month from now, there's a bipartisan effort that wants to dig into that. And that's where all of this is going to come up. And so I guess really what we have to think about is, how do we want this to work? These are private platforms. They don't necessarily have to follow anything until we put in regulations, but it's gone too far. It's gone to this point where there's no turning back from it. And no matter which side you're on of this, whether you want more moderation, less moderation, nobody's going to be happy. But it's a big thing we all have to decide. Social media has become that much of an important thing. Not that it wasn't already, but I think now it's drawn this much more attention to it. And coming up over here, like I said, in about 4 weeks, this is something that's what I'm guessing is where we're going to see this. Does it mean that we're going to see platforms kind of divide up to where they go one way, where one's heavily moderated, one's not? Do you have your parlors out there? Are they going to become more prominent, where you just have echo chambers? Hard to say, but certainly we've reached that moment. And I know there's other important things happening right now, but that is something to keep in the back of your mind. How would you want it? How do you want it to work? How do you want moderation to happen? What should it be? It's something that's going to get decided at some point, and all these platforms are working on it right now, but certainly it's a big moment for social media where it's reached that point. So wanted to bring that up just as the only commentary on that, something to think about going forward. Let's continue on with some trending tech news, though. And certainly, when it comes to technology, there is something big happening, and that is CES. The Consumer Electronics Show is next week. It starts on Monday, but really, it's already started. We've already had a bunch of announcements that are coming out, and I'll tell you this, we've got a preview that we're going to air here towards the end of this episode that you can also find on MBUX Media and of course, on YouTube as well. And we'll be covering next week. We've got a lot of things we're going to be doing for you, so we're really excited about that, but announcements are already coming out, and I wanted to highlight one that I just think is pretty cool. I love seeing the innovation at CES. The televisions are cool, all of that stuff. But what about this? And when we talk about automobiles and vehicles, they've been a big part of CES for a while. And Mercedes-Benz came out with something called their Hyperscreen, which is kind of a take off of something they already had. But it's this. It's a 56-inch OLED screen that's going to be part of one of their upcoming vehicles. So here's what we're looking at with this thing. It's got several different displays that are kind of all mounted into one big glass housing. It's got specific things for people so it can learn, because it's got a very sophisticated artificial intelligence in this thing. 24 gigs of RAM is what it's running with 8 cores. It will learn who the passengers are. So if it's a specific person, it'll know exactly how you like your your seat, which that kind of thing we've seen before, but it'll have a custom display for you. It will have, 377 square inches of glass real estate that you're going to be able to use. The front passenger will have different profiles. You've got all this other stuff that's kind of coming along with this, and it's pretty incredible. And the artificial intelligence that's built into it, also something that I think, we're going to see in a lot of other cars. We've been talking about Tesla and everybody else moving towards this way and moving towards these really intelligent, most likely future electric vehicles. It's pretty fascinating to see. And that's just an example of one of the things that I really like to see at CES is what these different companies come up with. And we're going to see a lot of that this week, even though it's all virtual, it's all online, still pretty cool to see. So that's from Mercedes with their Hyperscreen. I kind of want one. All right, continuing on here with some trending tech news to keep you up to date on what's happening. We talked about this before on this show, about the rumors that Roku was looking to buy Quibi's content. Yes, Quibi, that with all of the myriad shows that they had on there and all of the huge stars and all the different directors and producers, all that they had, Quibi obviously failed. We all know that. Magnificently failed. Probably something that'll be studied when in the history of streaming services. Quibi will be the shining example of something that even with $1.75 billion and all of that, you can still fail at this. Well, now all that content that's just been sitting out there dead, it has been purchased by Roku. And so if you have a Roku platform, it's going to come out sometime later this year where you're going to get that for free. So all of that programming will be on there for free. It will be ad supported, but something that's going to be added in to that. So it's a pretty cool to see some of it come back. I'm going to be honest, and I know I am one of the few people who was a subscriber to the free side of Quibi. There is still some good stuff on there, so I'm kind of glad that it's going to be coming back in some form. But if you're a Roku user, that's what they're going to be adding in. Roku said they're not going to be going for creating their original content, but they are just purchasing it so that way they can have something for you to watch if you're a Roku user. Again, free, ad supported, so that's coming out there at some point. All right, continuing on here from Quibi, let's go to some more future tech and let's talk about the robots. The robots are getting smarter, including the robot dogs. And here is what has happened right now. This should be a warning for all of us, at least if you're like me and you like watching those videos where they hit robots with hockey sticks. They're not going to take it much longer. And that is because they are getting smarter through artificial intelligence. And a unique way that they're doing this comes from a study that came from Zhejiang University. This is, and it's a combination with University of Edinburgh. So what they've done, these researchers, is they figured out a different way to teach to teach the robots how to respond to their environment. Right now, what happens is if you look at like the Boston Dynamics dogs, they're meticulously programmed to respond to things. It's a heavy amount of programming that goes into that. Well, they figured out that what they can do is have artificial intelligence, but not just one, 8 different kinds working together in order to respond quicker to the environment. And this is part of the videos that they put out here showcasing some of this. So I say 8, and that's because each one's kind of specific to a different skill. Some of the examples they said, one could be fluent in walking, another is for balancing, another does a different task. So all of these different tasks combine together, and then there's one overarching kind of coach AI that manages all of them. So it can respond and say, I need this response, I need a walking response, I need a standing up response. And so that way it can change up as it goes through and it learns a lot faster. They have you saw it already where the guy was kicking the robot over and it instantly popped back up. So that is something that they're working on. And I think that kind of, that kind of technology is certainly something that we're going to see being used a lot more. And it's an interesting use case of artificial intelligence. It's also robots are getting smarter. So expect that to proliferate out there. But that's from that study that came out there. And like I said, maybe I should stop watching my robot videos where they hit them with hockey sticks because they're going to fight back pretty soon. All right, going from there, let's give you one more thing, and this is something to look forward to, I believe, and it could be happening today, tomorrow, next couple of days, we don't know, but we do know it's going to be happening. It has to do with SpaceX and the launch of the SN9. So this is yet another prototype. We saw the SN8 launch, which happened a couple of weeks ago, actually, I think beginning of December, whenever that was, and we saw that launch where it went up into the atmosphere. It was able to almost land before it exploded when it hit the ground. Well, now they've got the next version, and that is the SN9. And the SN9 did a test fire yesterday, which means that they're getting pretty close to actually having a launch. And with this, they're expecting it to do kind of similar to what the SN8 did. Hopefully they'll land it and it won't explode. But even if it does, that's just part of the learning process. They've got the 10 and the 11, I believe, already ready to go as well. But pretty exciting thing to see with this and where we're going to go. Eventually, this is the whole system that's going to take people to the moon. And then there's a bigger version that's going to take us to Mars. So a lot riding on this. But it's still just fascinating to watch. And they'll probably have some really amazing video footage that we will be broadcasting when that does happen. But that is the SN9 test launch imminent. SpaceX hasn't said when, but with that little test fire that they did, it means it's probably pretty soon. So follow along with us on Twitter and we'll let you know when that does happen. And so we'll bring you that footage, but pretty exciting. Of note, also, Elon Musk, now the richest person in the world. Apparently, he has surpassed Jeff Bezos. So that's just a little thing for Elon Musk with that and a rocket launch. Pretty good week. All right, there we go. Follow along with that. Here's what's going to happen. We're going to take a quick break right now because we're going to get Winnie Sun here on. I am so excited to have her here on the show. We're going to talk about finances. There's a lot that's going on. I don't know. Maybe this last year's a little bit confusing when it comes to how we should handle our finances. That's why Winnie's here to help make this a lot easier to understand, especially for me. So that's coming up. Stick around. Back here in a minute with more 2Box Live. And welcome back to 2Box Live from 2Box Media, TWO Box Media. Follow us on whatever social media platform you are on. Go to the website, check us out, hit subscribe and all of that. I'm Greg Nibbler, and thanks for joining us. And I am very excited to have here on this show for the very first time. It is Winnie Sun from Sun Group Financial. Winnie, thank you so much for joining us. It's so good to see you.
Oh, goodness, it's so wonderful to be with you again, Greg. I've missed you.
I know, I've missed you too. I mean, I've been following along with all of your shows, but you know, this is different. This is now I get to talk to you. So, Winnie, thank you for being here, and for everybody out there, I'm really excited to have you on here to help break down these financial questions that we are all dealing with. It's all confusing. You make it so simple, and I wanted to start off just really talking about, it's hard to believe, but we're at the season for taxes right now and thinking about this and thinking about finances and going forward. And there's so many different changes that have gone on. Can you kind of run down for us what some of the big things are that we should be thinking about, what the changes are, what people should be doing?
Absolutely. There's so many changes that have taken place, right? We finally got that second round of stimulus funding that so many of us were waiting for. That $900 billion pandemic relief bill finally got passed. And we got a $600 stimulus check finally getting passed. Not great, but it is what it is. And then that $300 unemployment benefit came back into fruition, so that was a good thing. But certainly, I think, you know, the thing you want to focus on and continue to focus on is what do we do going forward? How do you make sure you've got that emergency fund saved up, and making sure that you have enough money not only for tax season but just for, you know, thriving and surviving right now.
Yeah, and looking at that, you know, are there any tips that you would have for people out there who are trying to plan ahead? You know, everything's just so, I hate using the word uncertain times, but I mean, it just is. You know, it's very confusing on what people should be doing. Any quick tips or advice you'd have?
Absolutely. I think the main thing is to not overthink it, but also try to see if you can automate things. The best way to do it, people always ask me, should I start planning for a month in advance, a year in advance? It just seems so daunting. And I would say, try to break it up to a daily basis. So try and just save, $10 a day or $20 a day, whatever you can, stick it right into your bank account and just keep it there so it's safe for you to use. But don't stress yourself out. Don't kill yourself if you're not able to save a whole bunch right now, because we know there's so many other factors that are coming into play.
Yeah, I think that's great. So just kind of chip away with what you can, but not add on to everybody's already pretty high stress levels. That's great advice. You mentioned the $600 stimulus check, which I know for a lot of people they've already gotten it. I'll say I haven't gotten mine yet, but and that's something that I think probably a lot of people are thinking about right now is when that would be coming, and then maybe down the line if there would be another one. So for people out there who haven't gotten it, I guess that kind of be my first question. Like, is that something to worry about? Should you be, how can you find out about that? And then maybe even your thoughts on if there'll be another one.
So, that's a good question. So stimulus checks have already started to be sent out if you had direct deposit set up. And if you're not sure, then you can definitely jump on the IRS website. There is information there in the area that they call it Get My Payment Tool, which is on the IRS website. That can actually give you a status on your stimulus check. Now, if you're expecting the check and maybe you're not sure if they have the right address, you can also go online. You can provide that updated information. You can call them, but you want to make sure that they have the right information for you. In terms of like, what will this look like? Well, we do know that President-elect Joe Biden has said continuously that if he's elected, that there will probably be more stimulus relief. So at this point, we do know that a lot of people didn't agree with the $600 amount. I certainly didn't. I think that there should be greater relief during this time for Americans to get through this unprecedented pandemic. So hopefully, come January 20th and beyond, probably soon after that, we hear about more stimulus funding coming in.
That's great. So yeah, that maybe sooner than later then. So that's definitely something I agree. I think people need more of that right now. I mean, that's something just to get through. $600 doesn't do a lot for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Fascinating. So going from there, there's something else I wanted to bring up, and I know you've been talking about this, but the lottery is huge right now. There's some really big jackpots out there, and I think all of us like to dream of that, of winning it. But then, what do you do with it? How do you handle that if you were to win? It's a lovely, kind of pie in the sky kind of thing, but somebody's going to get it. So, what would your advice be on that?
I love that you bring this up, because we need a little bit of happiness in our life, and I know I haven't bought a lottery ticket in a long time, but maybe we should try to buy a ticket. But if you win the lottery, people always say like, well, do people really win this lottery? People like me won't win the lottery. But I've actually had clients that have won the lottery. I think the first thing you want to do, I'm going to give you, because there's so many things you need, but the first thing you want to do is sign your ticket. Because if you don't sign your ticket and you lose it or someone gets it, then you've lost your ticket. The second thing you want to do is try and not let people find out who you are as long as you can. That way you can sort of do the planning. And the third thing, which I think is super important, is to put together your financial team. So you want an accountant, you want a financial advisor or team, like someone like myself who really knows how to manage those monies. And we also become a gatekeeper to all the people that are going to start to want money from you. So you sort of have a game plan in place. So think about it that way. It's like you're getting this very large amount, and all of a sudden everybody's going to want to be your uncle or aunt and come into some money too. So you have to have a plan in place.
Well, Winnie, you'll be the first person I call if I win, so expect that, I'm sure.
I hope so.
The ticket that I'm going to buy. Actually, quick random question for you. What's the first thing Winnie's son would buy if she won the lottery?
Oh, goodness. So, I'm sort of old school this way, but, I didn't come from a lot of money. I built everything that I have, and I'm a big believer in, if any time I have money, I'm going to help my parents out, my kids out, my husband, make sure that everybody in my life is going to be okay, because I really feel very blessed to have a lot of what I already need, which is, my 3 little ones downstairs, husband downstairs. That's pretty good.
That's a great answer. Winnie, I want to say thank you very much for joining us here too. It's so nice to see you and to talk to you. And I want to make sure that we let everybody know how to follow along. Because, yes, if I win the lottery, I'll be calling, but there's a lot of other things that you do and that you provide. And I want to make sure everybody knows about all of that.
Thank you. Thank you, Greg. Well, first off, hopefully continue to watch the show because hopefully I'll be here all the time. But also you can find me just going on Twitter at Winnie Sun. I'm all over social, on LinkedIn, wherever it's most convenient to you, that's where I'll be.
Winnie, thank you so much. And yes, absolutely. We'll be talking again very soon. Appreciate you being here on the show. And it's good to see you. Happy New Year.
Good to see you. Congratulations on a new show. So excited.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Winnie Sun right here on 2Box Live. That is so awesome. So excited to have her back here as part of this too and joining us on this show. And thanks to everybody who's watching right now, wherever you are. So we've got something else for you here as well. And it is this. We've got a little preview of CES 2021. It's different this year. It's strange, but there's still some cool stuff. So we're going to go ahead and run that for you. So go ahead and take a look at that. And we'll be back right afterward with more 2Box Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and this is 2Box Media. Well, CES is finally upon us. But like every major event, it's going to be a little bit different this year. Normally, the Consumer Electronics Show is held down in Vegas with all the glitz and glam and 180,000 plus people in attendance. This year, it's all virtual and online, but it doesn't mean that we're still not going to be getting some pretty amazing, innovative tech and gadgets out of the event. What we want to take a look at right now are some of the trends we foresee for CES 2021. Televisions. TVs are always a major part of CES, and it'll be no different this year with a bunch of major releases coming out. Bigger and brighter seems to be what the theme is going to be, and maybe less expensive. You'll have the usual OLED TVs, micro LED, and maybe some newer tech with the mini LED because we've seen a couple of releases already. LG has said they'll be showing off their new QNED mini LED TVs, and conversely, Samsung already posted their first look event, debuting their Neo Quantum mini LED TVs, which provides for some incredible pictures, and basically, they shrunk the standard size of LEDs to 1/40th of what their original size was, and along with some processing that allows for the darker areas to be darker and the colors to really pop. And you have Sony with an updated Bravia lineup, TCL with their new mini LED TVs, and of course, 8K televisions will abound because, whether you want them or not, companies are still making them. Needless to say, a lot for televisions at CES 2021. Computing is in for an interesting year. Certainly this year, we've all realized how important a good home setup is, and that's going to be reflected in some of the hardware that we see. We may not get a ton of new laptops, but the upgrades will definitely feature better webcams for one. Also, displays are going to be certainly huge. You've got a couple of new ones already. LG is going to be showing off a 48-inch 4K OLED display that can switch from a curved monitor to a flat television. It's a pretty cool use in dual functionality. You also have Dell with a 40-inch curved monitor that's aimed at content creation. This is something we'd probably normally have used in an office, but now it seems more fitting for your home studio. You'll also have AMD and Intel going at it as they have for the last few years, and it'll be exciting to see which one of the processors brings the most to the game for CES. Definitely, we all win no matter what, so it's pretty cool when it comes to that. Health technology is a booming segment that really encompasses a lot of things, whether it's fitness trackers or wearables to even heart monitors, and medical technology, or sometimes a combination of all of them. There have already been a few devices that have won the pre-CES Innovation Awards, including this wearable from a company called BioIntelliSense. The tracker is called BioButton, and it's described as essentially a high-tech band-aid that can monitor a myriad of different health statistics, including temperature, respiratory rate, and heart rate, and then send that information to a remote doctor. The possibilities of this kind of technology are endless, especially since it's so hard for a lot of people to get into a physical location right now. I'm really excited to see what kinds of advancements we see from other companies when it comes to this combination of health technology. The auto industry has been a huge part of CES for years, but of course, we're not going to get to see those really strange, cool prototypes in person like we used to. However, expect some big announcements when it comes to autonomy and self-driving technology, one of which is coming from a group called the Indy Autonomous Challenge. Now, what they're going to be doing is staging a head-to-head autonomous Indy car race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway later this year. And at CES, they're going to be unveiling what that actual autonomous vehicle will look like. This could open up an entirely new version of auto racing, so it's pretty exciting. You've also got the Mercedes-Benz Hyperscreen, which is a 56-inch infotainment system that's being designed for their EQS electric sedan. This is the kind of stuff I would love to see in person, but just seeing this futuristic technology actually coming to fruition is exciting. That's a lot of screen space. I hope it's pretty durable, but nonetheless, pretty exciting. All right, let's talk about robots. Robots, always a part of CES, although I don't know if we're going to get to see our actual futuristic robot butlers right now, but our future overlords will be present. And certainly the pandemic is going to be a theme here as well, with sanitization being part of what these robots are going to be able to do when we go back to the workplace. One example, LG is releasing a sanitizing robot designed for autonomous use in things like hotels. It's pretty important to have something like that to go in there. It's safer for people. You also see use cases in subways and mass transit. Another thing that robots are big for this year is companionship. And in particular, when it comes to children, there's a robot called Moxie. Now, this is the newest iteration of that. And for children at home, essentially, they can take different educational courses through it, but also learn how to express emotions with their pal, Moxie. I mean, don't tell me you haven't spoken to your robot vacuum at home. I know I have, so it's not that far off, but certainly some big things with robotics. Now, when it comes to smartphones, we normally don't see a ton of things at CES, but this year's going to be a little bit different. We will have the Royole FlexPi 2, which is a curved screen phone. Now, you may remember their first one actually came out before Samsung. They were the first technically foldable screen phone on the market, and this is their newest version of that they'll have here at CES. Another thing will be 5G. Something that's always talked about at CES. A lot of devices have it now. You've got the Qualcomm Snapdragon 480 chip, which actually brings it down to some lower prices. So 5G is going to proliferate a little bit more, but expect to find out more about infrastructure from the CEO of Verizon at the keynote speech that they're going to be having. And speaking of phones, Samsung is doing something that's pretty unprecedented. Normally, they have their Galaxy Unpacked event in February, maybe March, something like that. They're moving it all the way up to January 14th. So the last day of CES, they're going to be having this event showcasing what's going to be their new S21 line of phones. We think that it's going to have a stylus pen attached. There may be some other Galaxy Buds that'll go along with this, but certainly with Samsung bringing this major event to CES, it adds a little bit more pop to what we've got. And those are just a few of the trends that we're looking at. Another big one will be smart homes and how all of that technology integrates with everything that we have in our house, smart assistants and artificial intelligence. Some big discussions there, including how facial recognition software is having a lot of problems and how companies are working to address that. And my favorite, the weirdest and wildest innovations that we're going to see at this event. There's always something that stands out there, so it's going to be huge. And there's a lot more, of course, and that's why I want to know what you want to know more about in the comments. Let us know. Is there something you're excited about? Is there a gadget you want to see? We'll try and get it for you. And of course, follow along, hit like, share the show, let other people know about it. I'm Greg Nibbler for 2Box Media, and let's look forward to CES 2021. So there we go, just a little bit of a preview of what's going to be going on. And obviously there's a lot more that's going to be happening at CES. It's going to be fascinating to see how it all goes down virtually. I mean, essentially, from what I understand, and I've been to, this will be my 8th CES that I guess that I've been to, but I think it's all just going to be in Zoom rooms and these private rooms that they'll have, but there'll be a lot of info that's coming out. So we'll be sharing all of that. Still some really cool stuff to come out of it, and fascinating experience no matter how you look at it. That's just the way it is right now. So we'll have all that coverage for CES. And again, thank you for watching. Thanks for joining this show. We appreciate it a lot. We've got so many things planned for this new year, and we're going to be here with you, of course, every Monday and Friday. Next week, we're going to have more things going on over CES. So the best way to stay up to date with that is to follow us on social media. And that's TWO Box Media. If you don't follow us on Twitter, please go there. We'll be certainly keeping people up to date. Like I said, there's going to be the SN9 launch potentially today, this weekend. SpaceX doesn't tell us, but as soon as it does go up, we'll also be sharing that, so we'll let you know there. Send us an email, info@twoboxmedia.com or greg@twoboxmedia.com. If you're a company out there you want to talk to us, certainly you can get all of us that way as well. Product reviews, all of that stuff. We'll do anything, so certainly reach out to us and talk to us there. I shouldn't have said we'll do anything, but nonetheless, send us an email. We'll talk about it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday with more 2 Box Live.